Hi, I'm Kathy Mills from Short Film Edits, and I'm here with Evan Camacho for an interview today. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Just wrapped a project, so I got to come right home and do this fabulous interview.
Yep, so you've had a busy day.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well,
Mm-hmm.
thank you for
Upcoming.
taking the time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
So this
Uh,
was a werewolf one, so I got to do that.
ooh, that's
Yeah.
cool. That's
Mm-hmm.
cool. Right. I can't wait to see it.
Thank you.
Okay. What drew you to the vertical space?
So my story with the vertical space is actually kind of hilarious because the very, very first one I did was actually June of last year, and it was a disaster. It was a mess. I didn't know what it was. I was under the impression that it was that they said it was a mini series. They said you got a day player, and I'm like, fantastic. This is what I'm getting. And the long hours, it was hot and didn't pay very much. They also took very, very long time to pay. So I said, never again. Nope, I'm done with these guys. Done. Not going to do it. Then about 3 months later, starting in like September and definitely going into October, was when I started like, okay, these are, I knew people personally who were involved with them. And I'm like, what exactly are these? And I started sort of investigating them and really figuring out what they were. And so since then, that was really in November was my first major support. And that kind of started my time and career with them. So I've pretty much been going off of support and day players really ever since. I am chasing that ever elusive lead.
Yeah. Well, we're
That
glad you
ever.
came back.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Have you ever improvised a scene that has made it into the final cut?
No, I don't think so. And part of the reason why is that generally on set, most directors are pretty flexible in terms of if a line is and something to also to say about the scripts is that a lot of times the scripts are translated from Chinese into English, and unfortunately that translation generally isn't the translation from Chinese to English isn't very good in that the language itself is just very, very different. So sometimes you are stuck with lines that's like, wait a minute, we know what you're trying to say, but we can make it sound just a little more clear. But most of the time, it's never been a full blown improv, unless it's like a yes sir, yes ma'am. Maybe you'll throw in a line or two here and there, but generally speaking, it's you don't really have a lot of room for improvisation. And the thing with improvisation too is that especially if they shoot it from excuse me, especially if they shoot it from multiple angles, you have to make sure you can do it over and over and over again. So that's kind of where consistency comes into.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. Okay. Um, how do you navigate building your character to the fullest with limited time?
So that's actually one of the things that has come very that I've gotten a lot of practice on with verticals. And ironically, the biggest helper has actually been auditions because especially if you have a lot of auditions in a week or in a night. So if you have three, four, five auditions in one night, you don't really have time to go deep into the character and analyze all that. You really have to kind of pick something and then go for it. That's really the best thing to do. And that's kind of what you get a lot with these and even major parts is that you sort of latch onto something that makes the character and then you have to go for it. So you have to make this character exactly that, and by doing that the character naturally comes alive within you.
Okay. Okay. Have you had many chances to give input on scripts or direction?
Yes. Mostly it's small things.
Yeah.
It's little changes in like, okay, wait a minute, can I change that word or can I change this? And a lot of times when it comes to movement, because we do have stunt coordinators, we do have the directors are there. A lot of times it's more a question of, okay, the camera's here, the camera's here. How do I make it as easy as possible for them to do that, for them to capture what they need to capture? At the same time, though, I like to work with the other actors and say like, okay, well, why don't we move in like this? We'll stop here, say our lines, and then we'll cross at this point. And then generally what, especially if the director is off dealing with lighting or they're dealing with another setup, a lot of times what actors will do is that they'll kind of chat with each other to sort of, okay, how do we put this in like this, or say, hey, are you okay with doing this and maybe like stopping here. So it's just little things like but in terms of broad strokes, generally no, but it's the little details.
Yeah. They can make a huge difference though.
They are
Yeah.
even like 2 days ago, I was on something where all I had to do was I had one line. It was step in. It was come in, say my line, and then done. They wanted me to walk in, but to make it easy, all I did was I just basically pivoted my leg back and 1, 2. That was it. So it looked like I had walked in, but I'd really only my one of my feet had never left its mark. So it
Yeah.
just makes it a lot easier as well.
Yeah. Creativity is important. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Okay. How do you can navigate staying in character when filming out of order?
That is tricky.
Oh, the
And
camera just hang
one
on.
of the
Sorry, the
things that
camera
you sometimes
froze.
run into, oh,
But
testing 1, 2, 3, still
now
there.
you're back. Yeah.
So with that in mind of filming out of order, sometimes that can be very jarring, especially if you have to
Mm,
do a bunch of different places in the same day. And I know the leads
mm,
have this issue a lot where they have to go from, oh, you guys just met, to the next scene. Oh, it's the end of the story. Sorry. And really, the best way to do that is you really have to use your imagination and really know,
yeah.
okay, what did I go through on this journey and on this series that will get me to that point believably.
Yeah.
And that can be hard.
Mm.
That can be hard.
Yes.
So
Yes. Especially you've got to have really good chemistry to make it all work as well, I think.
yes. Well, that's the other
Yeah.
thing too, is that you can imagine. I mean, there are cases where the two leads and something like that, sometimes they have to film literally the last
Mm.
scene of their entire show. Sometimes they have to do that day one. They
Yeah.
really do have to do that day one. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. And sometimes you really have to just go, okay, I have gone through all this with I have gone through a lot with this person. Let's make it believable.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good. Okay. What keeps you creatively inspired between projects?
Because I tend to write my own projects as well, like I have my own creations that I start to do. I have a natural outlet for that. And that's actually really useful for me because I get a lot of ideas up here. And the issue
Yeah.
is that they get stuck. They sort of perpetuate themselves. So the best way for me is get them out, write them down, start developing them, because then they're out of there and they can naturally evolve on their own. And it's a beautiful example of take action.
Mm. Okay.
And I had this. I was asked on another interview, what advice would you give your younger self? And for me, it is, don't fall in love with the fantasy of getting something done.
Yeah.
Take action, do it,
Yeah.
even if it's a small step, even if it's just a few words a day, even if it's a couple of paragraphs a day. Keep moving forward with it every day if you can.
Yeah. Eventually it'll turn into something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I'm not going to ask you that question, but I'm going to ask what's the biggest acting advice you've gotten?
The best acting advice that I have ever gotten was from a teacher I had right out of college, and it's make it real. Make it real for you, make it real for yourself, make it real for your partner if you can. Whatever you're trying to do, try to make it real.
Yeah.
Draw on real emotions. If you're frustrated, be frustrated. If you're giddy, be giddy. If you are feeling passion, have a way to serve you. Now, mind you, there is a lot of safety in this, which is where the training comes in. But that is the best advice: is how would you yourself react in this situation?
Yeah.
And
Okay.
that's always a base. It's always a great baseline.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. What's your funniest moment on set?
Ooh, trying to think. I'm trying to think of a good one because there's been a couple of good ones. Um, this I hesitate to call this was funny because I was watching it, but
Okay.
this was a situation where I was like, it was terrible. It was horrible levels of cringe, and it's a rare cringe where it's like this isn't awkward. It's the fact that it's like, oh, I cannot imagine how uncomfortable that's going to be, and this is what it
Hmm.
was. So if you've watched Verticals, you know that people get thrown in pools
Yeah.
or bathtubs all the time. Well, this was last year. This was in December, by the way. And mind you, this is California December. So not too bad, but still pretty cold.
Yeah.
Still pretty darn cold. There were two actresses. They had to basically jump into a pool. One had tackled the other. They fell into the pool and they're wrestling at and they're going for it. And they're going for it. And then the leading man, he dives in and rescues them. Well, this was done in the middle of the day. And right in the middle of the scene, they called lunch. So they get out. So they get out and they change into their comfortable street
Yeah.
clothing. And I'm overhearing the conversation. They have to get back in the water after lunch.
Oh.
So you can imagine, and by the way, the girls were wearing dresses. So it wasn't like sweater weather or street clothes that they were wearing. They were wearing like fancy dresses. And those don't dry quickly. Oh, and on top of that, the pool was not heated. So
Oh.
what the crew was doing, which was this is the real funny part in my opinion. So what the crew was doing was they were going over to the shower, turning it on, and filling up buckets of water with warm water, and then dumping it in the pool every chance they could get. As if the cameras weren't rolling, they were over trying to get water and dump it back in. It was pretty damn hilarious. And I can tell
Oh
that it's like though
no.
it didn't do much. If it did anything at all, it
No.
did not do much. It was
No.
so funny to watch this going on and knowing, and this is gonna sound borderline sociopathic, but I'm like, well, that ain't me. But I understand how just how uncomfortable it must be.
Yeah.
So
See, here we want to get in the pool in
yes,
December
yeah,
because we're in the middle of summer.
yeah.
So
It was not. The good news was it was a sunny day. It was a sunny
yeah.
day, but it was not warm.
Oh, those
It was
poor
not warm one
people.
bit. It was so. It was definitely one of those like I shouldn't be laughing at this, but it's pretty damn hilarious what's going on because
Yeah.
you know just how miserable and uncomfortable those poor actors and actresses are.
Yeah. You would think that they'd wait until the scene is finished to call lunch, or is it just like a big,
It
announcement?
well, it was it was one of those where they have to call lunch at a certain time,
Okay.
and just that was just how the day went. That was how the day went. They wanted to get it done before lunch, but they just couldn't.
Bugger. They
I
really go
know.
through it sometimes, don't they?
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
the other one that's usually that's hell sometimes are the rain scenes. Now,
Yeah.
I was not involved in this one, but I spoke to speaking of which, this is Nero, everybody.
So
Um,
cute.
so I was aware of a project where it was a rain scene. It was supposed to be this romantic like kissing scene, and they didn't have a rain machine. So what they did was they just got a hose. They just got like a
Oh.
garden hose and just pumped it in the air, put their thumbs on it, and it kind of arced over in that. So I mean, if you know anything about it, and mind you, this is also at night. So
Oh,
so these two
gosh.
actors are like freezing their butts off in the middle of November, trying to stay warm from the water. From the
Oh.
water, they're trying to do this romantic, very touching scene, and then they yell cut, and it's like, get us a freaking robe or get us a towel because it was so cold.
Oh gosh, I'd like to see how that came out on screen actually, using a hose
Uh,
rather than.
yes, I mean it's they used it on the poster actually.
Oh, okay.
They actually ended up using that scene on the poster.
Oh,
But I
nice.
talked to the I worked with the actor And he said that like, oh yeah, that was one of the most uncomfortable scenes we had to do because it was so cold.
Yeah. Oh gosh. They
Yeah.
they really put a lot of time and effort into what they do, and that's admirable. But
Hmm.
they I feel sorry for them sometimes.
It is one of those where you appreciate what you're doing, but the good news is that generally with verticals, that's the other thing that is done in terms of having to create quickly. You only get like 2 or 3 takes, so you don't have
Yeah.
time. You don't have time for mess ups. You have time for maybe you do one, maybe get an adjustment from the director. If you're lucky, a lot of times you don't.
Yeah.
It's usually they're like, okay, can we get a different? Can we move them over just a little bit? Or something that's
Yeah.
something technical. You don't really get much on the acting part, so it's
Yeah.
kind of up to you to sort of make the most of what you got. Because sometimes you only get one shot.
Yeah, I've heard
You only get
that.
one take because that's all you have time for.
Yeah. Oh gosh. It's a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but we appreciate you all for it,
Well,
you
thank you,
know.
and it's fun. It's fun. That's why
Yes.
to
Well, you
me
wouldn't
this
do it if
is
it wasn't.
no, and that's something I also want to point out is that this isn't it's a job, but it's not work to me. It's not
Yeah.
going to work. I get to play. I get to
Mm.
have fun. I get to embody this different character. And especially characters that are a little bit more like bit characters or something like that. I like throwing in a little quirk or maybe an accent that I
Yeah.
can just have fun with. Like the character today, I just decided why don't I make him a little French just for
Oh,
the hell
yeah.
of it, just for the hell of it. And I was like, why not? Why
And
not?
they allowed that okay?
Yep. A general rule I've noticed with directors a lot is that unless they tell you don't do something, you can you can get away with doing quite a bit.
Okay.
But
That's
as long
good.
and as I mean, one of them was I was on something where I was on it for only 4 hours,
Mhm.
and I was playing a doctor, and I just gave him a German accent.
Yeah.
I just gave him a German accent to make him so. So what do we do with this? What do we do with this victim? She's clearly quite injured. So you just do
Mm.
something like that for the hell of it,
Yeah.
and it's like you're not going to be on long. Make it fun and make it distinctive,
Mhm.
if anything, for yourself.
Yeah. Well, one of my questions is how do you make similar roles feel unique? That could be one reason.
That is hard, especially
Mhm.
the leads would probably be more of an expert at this than I am because you watch a lot of verticals,
Yeah.
especially the male leads. Generally, they tend to be a little bit flat in terms of characterization.
Okay. Yeah.
So really, many of them if you read them, sound very similar.
Yes.
And so I think part of that is you have to bring more of yourself into it, or you have to do the opposite, which is no, let's just take myself out of it completely and make a character out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I did hear in one of my interviews,
Mm-hmm.
Jessica said that she uses an acting technique where she goes and makes memories for that character
Mm-hmm.
and uses that when she brings that scene out and goes back to
Yeah.
those memories. She just creates them in
Yeah.
her head. And I thought that was pretty
Mm-hmm.
cool.
I don't do that,
Yeah.
but
It's an
but
individual
it's all
thing. Yeah.
it is very much an individual thing. It also just matters on again. Sometimes you just don't have time.
Yeah.
That's the other blunt truth of it. All of it is that's like okay, can you do this quickly when you don't have
Yeah.
time, especially if you're playing multiple characters in 1 week.
Mm.
It's like I don't I can't make memories. I don't have time. I have to go do this other character in another day. But I'm working up until this character is supposed to come to life.